In the Blair podcast is brought to you by AB1 Studios. These episodes won't be televised or monetized, but comments may be criticized. Enter at your own risk. Language may not be suitable for anybody under the age of 18, but enter at your own risk. This is a vibe. Enjoy. Yo, what's going on, blessed ones? Thanks again for listening. They say third time's a charm, so with this being episode 3 of my third podcast ever, hopefully this one reaches you. So, I did something today, and I'm gonna get right into it. I'm currently doing it right now, but it's I'm readjusting my attention to music. With it seems like as a pattern for the last few months, a new rapper is getting shot, killed, like just every week. Like first, it was King Von, rest in peace. Then, it was Mo3, rest in peace. Then, from my understanding, Boozy got shot, Bunny the Butcher got shot, and may they have a speedy recovery. And then, it's like I was listening to this other podcast, So Shameless, and it was just pretty much addressing how, like some of these rappers' musics, it's really violent. And, when I was sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, when it talks about we are the company we keep, and certain things are, everything is energy. So it's like when you put out certain things, or when you put out everything, that comes back to you. And I like to think of myself as a music connoisseur. I mean, I'm not in the music industry somewhat, but I am connected to some people who are in some way, and just coming from where I come from, I know it's a lot of violence, a lot of just nasty things going on, man. Like, I come up from in the '90s era. It's a different time now where we have social media. People can have these cyber bullies, and just do things without repercussion. Not really going to get into the details of what's been going on, because I didn't really follow the story, but apparently, the King Von situation, it was due to some issue he had with Quando Rondo, who was another artist who I was listening to, and I was like, he makes great music, but like I mentioned at the beginning, like there are so many great artists out here, and I try to be fair and listen to as many artists as I can because I just love music. But I'm sitting here with my Apple Music subscription and realizing that I only get a limited amount, and I listen to all types of music, from country to jazz to pop to reggaeton, even though I don't understand what it's saying. But then when it comes to rap and hip hop, I'm like, man, like a lot of this music is good, but it just brings a negative energy Music is very influential, even when we don't really catch it right away. Like subconsciously, it's it's what it comes in. It comes within our aura. You know, the last episode I was talking about Gucci and Jeezy, and which it was very interesting. But at first, energy was kind of unbalanced, because Gucci was, he was just going in on Jeezy, and Jeezy was just real cool about it. And I'm glad that nobody got hurt in the process. And Atlanta, from what I've seen, was like it was really jumping. So now here we are, a week and a half later. There's a couple days removed from Thanksgiving, in which I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, enjoyed your family, enjoyed your meals, and new music coming out. And it seems like no matter what we do, no matter what we say, as far as whether it's OG or whether it's older person in general, it seems like it's it's getting like worse and worse. With everything going on with COVID, everything with going on with politics, and it's like us as the black community, we still just can't seem to end the violence. And then for me, like I said, being from where I'm from, Hampton Roads area, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Newport News, Chesapeake, all that whole area, and then just being tied in with the DC, Southeast, Uptown, all that. And that's another place as well. And I think music is music sometimes, but a lot of times for me, that music can get like, that jump really puts you in the zone. So, I just wanted to, share that, because I do have, people who do certain music. Music is everywhere. Music is universal. Hip hop is definitely the most influential genre, most influential culture in the world. In the world, I'm gonna say that. I say that confidently, in the world. And it's like we seem to be the only culture that has a pretty much clear sight of the violence. I know that rock and roll and the R&B, those artists clash, but it seems like hip hop is the only one where it's like really, really effective and detrimental. And I will say, because again, hip hop is the streets, but it's still also very universal as well. But being that the start of hip hop, and where it originated from, and for it to hit mainstream America and worldwide, internationally, we are now past that. We no longer have to be these rough, violent, gritty people of the culture. And that might be kind of shallow to say that, but when I listen a lot of this music out now, and of course we still have these great records, from newer artists and artists who've been doing it. We still have the Nas, the Griseldas, We still have, the backpack rappers. We still have the Kendricks, the Coles, all that music. We make great music, which is pretty much mainly, is street, but it's not violent. But when we listen to these, or just for me, when I listen to this music that's talking about killing, that's glorifying and laughing about killing one of your peers, whether in music or just in the street, name dropping, all that stuff. It's like, man, I realize it put a bad taste in my mouth, especially with police brutality still, you know, still with the unarmed black men being murdered and assaulted and all that, and then with me being a father of a 4-year-old. It's like, man, the music be good as far as entertainment aspect, but I realize it's not the energy that I really want to be, and it's gonna be hard for me. It's gonna be hard for me. It's for me, I believe we can't change overnight, but I mean we gotta start somewhere. So I mean it's gonna be hard to not listen to King Von and the Quando Rondos and even a lot of the what I'll say drill and street rappers that's talking about shooting and killing. That's because it's more than that. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's just a lot. And again, my playlist, my library is filled with other music. But hip hop and R&B is my favorite genre of music. So those of you, well, I'm just say those of you who are not really about that life, it's music is an energy as well. Those of you who are not really in the street doing that, it's cool. It might sound good to listen to, but I just think we all should be mindful of what we listen to, what we entertain, what we allow in our subconscious. You know what I mean? Because we glorify, we might be in the clubs or in our car listening to all this killing and violent music that really makes you wanna really go out and do something. Then the next thing you know, you might have somebody who might be in there actually in locked up or dead due to that same music that you're supporting. So like that's why I was like, even for me, like for what Tory Lanez, I'm not, I didn't get too didn't want to be too involved. I know a lot of people are not really listening to him. A lot of people not listening to R. Kelly. A lot of people not, listening to certain artists because of, what they do personally. And I respect it, and I'm with you on that. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. R. Kelly. I think the concept of what R. Kelly was, his music was great music, but the fact that he was sleeping and sexual assaulting, raping on underage girls or holding hostage or not, I think a lot of people would stop listening to him because if you were streaming, because now music is different now. Like if you stream it, that's important. And I mean, I don't know too much about it, but it's like, and then there's other people who believe that because, it was, he is a, pedophile. A lot of the music was influenced by that. I mean, I disagree, but I mean, it's just a touchy topic. Matter of fact, with Tory Lanez, same thing. Allegedly he shot Megan Thee Stallion. that's in a way domestic violence. You know, you shoot a woman, you know, you don't deserve, you know, my money, you don't deserve my strings, and it's like, you know, that's one of those things again where it's like, I don't know. You know, I'll be the first to tell you that I haven't really listened to music in a minute as far as R. Kelly goes, but I mean, it's very hard. It's just because I listen to everything else as well. You know, it's kind of like an afterthought for me. It wasn't like I didn't start listening to it because, I wasn't, because I thought it was tough. I was just like, because to me, if you're a fan of someone, if you really enjoy somebody's music, and then all of a sudden something comes out or something is known but you're unsure, it's not just gonna cut. You're not just gonna cut that off automatically, but it's a process. But you know, on to another note, I do again want to thank everyone who has been listening to my other podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Too Idle for a Title to Podcast. You know, that one's a little bit more on unorthodox. Today, I really wanna just talk about what's really been going on with me overall and my perspective on it. I actually had some notes that I took, but I'm gonna really wing it this episode because I had gotten some advice that I didn't really want, I guess, or unsolicited advice, but it's very much helpful. You know, as I mentioned in my episode before, on my other podcast, is that, you know, as a podcaster, especially one that's just starting out, don't really have a big fan base, you gotta kind of like be a little bit more, I guess, receptive or acceptable. So, you know, an advice that I gave them was, you know, don't make them. They don't have to. My podcast don't have to be that long. You know, because I'm not, popular enough or known enough to, really, to really have a long enough podcast. You know, nobody knows what they're not gonna listen to you for an hour. And I'm like, that's, personally, I feel like that's fine because I'm in it for the longevity, and I really want the NWA podcast to, be here for the years to come. And we're just on episode 3. I want it to be a little more consistent. I got a lot going on right now, but I do want to acknowledge that I recognize and I receive the advice that was given to me, and I take it under consideration because for someone like me, like I have pretty much almost every social media platform, and I got a YouTube page, I got another podcast that I do, and then it's just like, I already do enough talking, so what can I talk about? This one can be a little bit more organized. And sometimes I just, like, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. Sometimes I don't feel like doing the proper adjustments. Like I said, I had some notes for this episode. This is the 3rd episode. It's been like a week and a half since last episode. But I take heed to the advice because anyone who's willing to give, to even give me any type of information, any type of insight, I gotta respect it. I was in Clubhouse a couple days ago, and I was in this room where they was talking about podcast tips. So just in a room with multi millionaires and podcasters and entrepreneurs and big time podcast heads who have multi-million fan base and who has a enormous amount of budget and theirs, just giving out some game, and I'm like, man, it feels good to be in here. I've been kind of into the podcast for some years now, and I had my first podcast originally on Anchor, and I decided to do a second season of it, and then now I have this podcast, which is exclusively here on SoundCloud, but it's appreciative because just being able to get my voice out there, just being able to, even if it's just one person that's listening, I appreciate that. But I look at it, what that advice that was given to me as far as that, not really making them long, that's just, that's an important thing. I can see why that is important. And like I said, sometimes I don't intend for them to be as long as they are. But like again, I am moved by just the mood that I'm in. And man, I'm sorry. I mentioned that I responded with when my fan base do grow, those who really gonna want to listen, who's really interested, they're gonna go back to from the beginning. Everything is not for everybody. And with that said, I'll just continue to do it my way with, the everything that I receive under consideration. So I do want to acknowledge that I am I'm very, very sensitive when it comes to certain things. Some I might need to settle on my own, but I'm very sensitive when it comes to that. Because once again, like I said, I'm not a multi-millionaire. I'm not a very popular individual. I mean, who know me, who support me. But just the fact of getting my voice and expressing my voice, I do it here, for those who wouldn't mind having a moment to listen to what I gotta say. I don't always talk about the same things. But I do want to take this time before I get back into my point. Take this time to do the free promo segment. And today's company is Greenwood District, which is, black-owned business. And I am a brand ambassador for it, but, that's just something, it ain't really that big of a deal to me. I do what I do. I mean, I have a few items. Greenwood District is a clothing company, provides shirts with black, black power, empowerment, and everything. Black excellence. Being black is dope. Unapologetically black. It does provide men and women tees It has some pants, I believe. I mean, throw out with hoodies, and it is again. It has some pretty dope stuff up there. I will provide a link there to Greenwood Dish, and the site is greenwooddish.com. And for anyone listening who wants to use my code to get, I think it's maybe 5% off or 10% off. It is Blair, Blair. So when you go shop for it, you can put that code in at the end when you purchase it. But they got some pretty dope stuff up there, and it's always bringing new products in. Like I said, it's for men and women. GreenwoodDistrict.com. I have a couple shirts myself, a lot of dope shirts. I do intend on getting some more. So yeah, and that's that. And I do want to also take this time to just say that I do want to apologize for anybody who I might have made feel uncomfortable with the things that I say on my podcast, this one or previous one. I can't stress this enough. We have to respect our women. We have to protect them. We have to definitely provide as a better gentleman. I mentioned Clubhouse recently, just a second ago, and there was just a lot of it's a lot of toxicity in those rooms. Like I was in this one room, and I think they was talking about dating, and then there was a lot of moderators. The thing about Clubhouse that I will say, I do love the dialogue that goes on in there. But sometimes when I hear a lot of the women that starts talking, and then men just decides to, they will start talking and yelling over them. I don't like that. Nobody really likes being talked over anyway, but I think a lot of times there's with the fact that there are a lot of self-entitlement, and Clubhouse is a social media platform. Like I said, it's a really good app, but the one thing that I disliked about it was that, from my understanding, Kevin Hart came up there also, and I guess I think I wasn't in it at the time, but there was just like mad rooms in Clubhouse that was mentioning Kevin Hart, in stand up. I think he had said something in the grid about I guess his daughter being a host, something jokingly or whatever. And then a woman, I guess she ended up making a comment about it, and then it became into a whole thing where it was like Kevin Hart's gaslighting, and gaslighting is a very interesting It's very interesting. It's an interesting term. It's an interesting concept. It's one of those words for me where I have to constantly look it up like all the time because I be forgetting what it means. But I do want to share this. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to, do what they want, but the self entitlement, just feel like just as far as just thinking that you're owed something, is crazy and ridiculous because personally, personally, it's a risk, when I make certain comments, when I make certain, express certain things, I mean, it's a risk. We have to, express ourselves at our own risk. We have to, you know, say whatever, say certain things at our own risk. And again, like I said, I wasn't in there, but I will say this: we do not know a lot of these people personally. If Kevin Hart, and I'm like I said, I don't know what's going on, but this is my view. If Kevin Hart was talking about his daughter, whether he was joking or serious, that is between him and his daughter. If he's comfortable enough to say publicly and make jokes about it, I would think that okay, yeah, his daughter knows. Maybe he had a conversation with his daughter and his kids. We do not know that. But again, those of you who are offended, sometimes an apology isn't necessary neither, because we're all offended by something. Like I mentioned again, everything isn't for everybody. Some things might sound good, it might feel good, but sometimes it's just not for us. So because it feels good and sounds good doesn't always mean that it's for us. Just like I would say Megan Thee Stallion's album, Good News. Didn't get a chance to finish listening to it, but there was some tracks up there I was like, I don't like it. Sometimes, when as men, we can get very critical of women, especially women who do music, especially certain things that they do. And it's just as simple. It's just simple as this. Some things just are not for you. It's not meant for you. You being a man, of course, you may not like certain things women do. It's not for you. So I mean, it's just as simple as that. It took me a long time to, get to that mind frame, because we feel like we have to always have something, like always have to get something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, as far as that whole topic with Kevin Hart, 'cause I think Tiffany Haddish had some people that got on Tiffany Haddish for defending him. And I'm like, well, that's her friend, and that's the difference. When you have a personal relationship with somebody, you might see or understand something better. Like I remember, when Gail was interviewing Lisa Leslie, and she had mentioned something about, with Kobe Bryant in his case, what I'm saying? First off, the guys passed away, and like I said, I ain't trying to revisit, stay too focused on that, but just to point it out, it goes back to the same thing. When you have a personal relationship with someone, you can do and say certain things. Me personally, I used to always believe that it wasn't fair. You treat everybody the same, but you can't treat everybody the same, because it might not be in that same same realm. If somebody you don't know is making jokes about your mama and your kids, and then you say, oh, you ain't in that place to, you're not in that not that position to say that, because see me, I might have a dark sense of humor. Like I will laugh at certain things I'm not supposed to laugh at, and then you'll get I can get crucified for it. 'Cause I'm like, you shouldn't laugh at that. I know my ex-wife she was telling me um certain things. My son, he's virtual learning. He walked out. He walked out of class or left class. In virtual learning, and then I just kind of like chuckled for a minute because it was like, hey, that's he was like, he's done. I chuckled, I laughed a little bit, and she's telling me, that's not funny because he's gonna think that it's okay, and he's gonna keep doing it, even though he didn't hear me say it. But it was just like certain things are just funny. It's just like when the thought of it is funny. It's not funny, but the thought of it is funny sometimes. So that's kind of how my sense of humor is. But it's just like, when it comes to comedy, yeah, when you're a comedian, you might get a pass, which I don't necessarily always agree with. But you also gotta take certain things. We gotta take everything with a grain of salt as well. And that's the thing about social media, that we all feel like we have to say every single thing and do like give our opinion on everything. It is very dangerous. Having freedom is dangerous. When you have an opinion, you express that opinion. Like I said, you got to do that at your own risk, because I'm going to tell you this. It is courageous and it is powerful when you can stand strong on who you are. But some things some things that are irrelevant to you or doesn't matter probably doesn't need to really be said. Like if I decide I want to say something that might be intended or meant to be funny or to lighten the mood, yes, then I'm opening up the door for anybody to express how they feel. That's opening up the door for somebody to try to harm me, because I'm gonna tell you, there are people who are crazy. Some people do not take even the simplest thing lightly. So if you're willing to put a certain energy out there, you have to keep in mind, because even when you don't, you might still be in trouble. But if you're willing to put a certain energy out there, you have to keep in mind that there's going to be another energy that's going to be reacted to that. I know people who have got killed over the simplest things. Just for saying something. That's why even when I say what certain, like, it's and like with men who gaslight women, or women who gaslight men, it's like, we shouldn't gaslight. It might not be intentional, because we all have different ways of looking at things. And again, I'm a big energy person, and I do believe that there's a possibility that what some people will say sometimes it may just be something that they see or something that they know. When I think, because I think of it as like as a blind man. Like a blind man, we look at a blind man as like, okay, he can't see, so we have to, they have to be a little bit more aware than us of where they're going. But I'm sure that they still have dreams. That's what I think about. So I mean, it's a lot. The mind is a terrible thing to waste, because that's a cliche. But when when we think about, you know, how we make people feel, and then when we think about the things that we want to say and the things that we hold in, we gotta, well, I don't know about y'all, but I know for me, I think about the fact of how this will affect me and others if I don't say it or if I do say it or whatnot. That's probably one of the main reasons why I did this podcast as well, because again, I didn't get much, but I want those who are listening to my podcast to really contribute. When you listen to End of Bled podcast, you are in my world. You are, in my brain, and I do want to be able to interact with the listeners on social media and get some questions and make some calls and do things. I mean, I can, I want to be able to, pick up people's brains and get perspective, because I think without conversation, nothing can be, nothing can move forward. So that's why I say, when Kevin Hart did make that joke about his daughter, I guess, and the young lady or whoever commented on it, got offended or said something to him. Of course, the man will probably defend, but it's important to at least think about, at least let the woman, say her piece, and you go from there. I'm not saying everybody has to agree with everything, but sometimes it's important that we communicate, but we have to be able to know what's worth that. Because, like I said again, there's personal relationships that we have with people that other people probably don't understand. Same thing when we talk about relationship goals. Like, I remember, Barack and Michelle. That was relationship goals, and and even in it's a lot of the couples in love and hip hop. You used to have Jim and Chrissy, and then you had LeBron and his wife, and or Stephon Curry and his wife, and you have a lot of these celebrities who are relationship goals. But our real relationship goals. What about our grandparents? How come my grandparents aren't relationship goals? Why do we always have to put emphasis in celebrity relationships? We don't know what type of relationship they had before we know them. Our grandparents been through a lot as well. You gotta think, our grandparents, they've been married for 40, 50, 60 years. And that's like at least three generations. I know my grandparents, their relationship goals, I was able to have the honor and privilege of being married, and at least experience that, but it didn't last. But I would have loved to been, in that, to have a marriage like that. And even my sister and my brother-in-law, they've been married for about I always say over 10 years, but she was probably about 15 years. But it's just important thing, because with social media is it's the world is changing, and sometimes the world wants us to be able to keep up with it at a faster pace, but sometimes it doesn't work that quickly. We can't, we don't work that quickly. Not anyone who was born in my era. Anyway, I was born in '87. So certain things that, like some of the laws that are changing, some of the music that's becoming on the forefront. A lot of things are changing, and it just takes me a lot of a lot more a slower time because I have to readjust myself. Sometimes we have to unlearn and relearn some things. But that's just pretty much all it comes down to as far as the Clubhouse app. Like I said, it's a very good app. I'm actually connecting, following a lot of really interesting people, a lot of cool people. Um, and man, I'm getting caught up, but and very intelligent individuals. I enjoy it, and I want to be a little bit more interactive up there. But hey, I mean, it's pretty good. I think it's gonna hit the masses soon, and it's just something that I really wanted to express. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but once again, you have spent a little time with me today, so I appreciate it. And I do want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for sharing. Um, like always, blessed one up. BLSD number one UP, Instagram and Twitter. And like if you got any questions, requests, suggestions, please hit me in the comments. Please tweet me. Please email me. Everything will be provided. All right. And maybe next week, next episode, I'll have some things to talk about. This one was definitely not as it was organized, but I decided I kind of changed my mind at the last minute. But I do want to thank you all for listening, and again, in due time, stay productive, stay